With the way the Atlanta Braves are built right now, it seems as though they're primed to win a championship sometime soon. And with the young players they have under their control, with Ronald Acuna, Ozzy Albies, Mike Soroka, and they still have one of the best farm systems in all of baseball. So they're primed to at least be a perennial threat in the National League. And when they're inflicting terror on the NLEs, eventually I think they might win one championship. And I think one player whose career that's going to benefit is Freddie Freeman. And as young as he is, considering how much longer he can play in the league, I think there's going to be the Freddie Freeman's going to be those one of those players who are going to compare his career before he won a championship and after. And right now we're in the period before he won a championship. But I'm gonna really get into this for a bit because I really like Freddie Freeman, and I'm kind of showing a little bit of Atlanta bias, but I really think Freddie Freeman is an elite first baseman, and I would argue he's the best first baseman in baseball, pretty comfortably. So how you guys doing? It is Saturday, July 18th, 2020, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and today I'm going to talk about Freddie Freeman, who is a 30-year-old first baseman from California who is now playing for the Atlanta Braves. The narrative on Freddie Freeman is that he's only been on the Atlanta Braves, and when he got there, they were good, but there were about 5 or 6 years in which the Braves were they're completely terrible, or 3 or 4 years and they were just completely bad. And now the Braves are back in the playoff picture, and considering a lot of their best players are young, Freddie Freeman has been a consistent bat. And he has proven to be one of the league's top players and most consistent hitters in contact and in power. But just to give you a little bit of background on Freddie. Like I said, he's 30 years old, came out of Fountain Valley, played high school, or he was drafted out of high school with the 78th overall selection of the 2007 MLB draft. He was or drafted by the Atlanta Braves, and then he eventually was called up in September of 2010. And in his first season in Atlanta, he only played 20 games. He only went on to have 4 hits for the season with a 167 batting average, and the Braves that season that they would go on to lose the NLDS to the Giants. Freddie Freeman's official rookie season was his age 21 season in 2011, where he played 157 games, finished with 161 hits in those 157 games. That's more hits than games in his rookie season. Finished with 32 doubles, 21 home runs, 76 RBIs, with a 282 batting average, and he was a runner-up that season to Craig Kimbrell on that year, because the Braves had the 2 best rookies in the National League. And they had to give it to Craig Kimbrell because Craig Kimbrell was really going off this year. But Freddie Freeman had an amazing rookie year that if he wasn't up against his own teammate, he more than likely would have won a Rookie of the Year in the National League. But there's no need for hypotheticals because he doesn't have that. But that's his official rookie year in the league. His second year. And of course, that year the Braves would go on to miss the playoffs, even though they finished second in the NL East. And that would go into 2012, where Freddie would play 147 games, finish with 140 hits, 33 doubles, 23 home runs, 94 RBIs. First time he records over 80 RBIs in a season. That's his second season in the league. That's 94 RBIs. That's incredible. But he was not named as an All-Star that year. But at that point, the league started to take notice. In the next year, they rewarded him. But even that season, the Braves would go on to finish second in the NL East, and they lost in the NL wild card to the St. Louis Cardinals, and that would lead into his 2013 season, where Freddie, in his third season in the league, would be named to his first All-Star game. That season, he would play 147 games. He'd finish with 176 hits in those 147 games, 27 doubles, 23 home runs. First time he ever eclipsed, the first of the only 2 times in his career he ever eclipsed 100 RBIs. He had 109 of them. He finished with a 319 batting average. He finished 5th in the MVP voting, and he clinched his first All-Star game. And the Braves ended up winning the NL East that year with 96 wins, but they lost to the Dodgers in the first round in 4 games. And that was the last time the Braves were in the playoffs for about 4 years. But Freddie Freeman was that guy on the team, and this was his age 23 season, and that was when Freddie Freeman entered himself into the elite conversation as possibly the best. And at that point, Paul Goldschmidt was the best first baseman in baseball, but Freddie Freeman was definitely the runner up. He was the heir to usurp him and take the crown as the best first baseman. So that would lead into his 2014 season, where as the Braves slipped, Freddie Freeman would play all 162 games. He would finish with 175 hits, more hits than games. He finished with 43 doubles on the season, 18 home runs, 78 RBIs, finishing with a 288 batting average. He was named an All-Star for his second year in a row, and he would finish 23rd in MVP voting. But the Braves would go on to finish tied second in the NL East, and they would miss the playoffs, and they would have a losing record. And they missed the playoffs, but Freddie Freeman was named an All-Star twice within his first 4 seasons. So I mean, at that point, he's at least he's the real deal. He's definitely not a fluke. So the next season, in 2015, Freddie would go on to play 118 games in a season riddled with injury. He finished with 115 hits in those 118 games, finished with 27 doubles, 18 home runs, 66 RBIs. He had a 276 batting average, wasn't an All-Star, nothing truly happened, and the Braves once again missed the playoffs after finishing 4th in the NL East with 67 wins on the season. And that would look in 2016, 2017, you kind of see the same. 2016, he played the full season, finished with a 302 batting average. He finished with 178 hits and 34 home runs and 91 RBIs. He actually finished 6th in MVP voting that season. But he wasn't even voted an All-Star that year. That was but the Braves weren't a playoff team. Freddie Freeman got hot incredibly late, and he showed he was still an elite player. He wasn't named an All-Star that year, and the Braves really went off. But Freddie Freeman was still an elite hitter of the league. There was nothing taking away his status as the heir to the best first baseman in baseball at the time. And in 2017, he's played only 117 games in another injury-riddled season, but he still finished with a 307 batting average, as he finished with 135 hits in those 117 games, with 28 home runs and 71 RBIs. And that year, the Braves would miss the playoffs for the 4th year in a row. But the last time they made it, Freddie Freeman helped get him back there. And finally, the next season, Freddie Freeman would play 162 games. He played the whole season, took no games off, especially after those couple of injury-riddled ones. He went on to lead the league in hits with 191. That's dangerously close to 200, and he played all 162 games. He led the league in doubles with 44 of them. He had 23 home runs on the season, 98 RBIs. Finished with a 309 batting average. He was named to his 3rd career All-Star game. He was given his first Gold Glove, and he was 4th in the MVP voting. And at this point, he was recognized as not only the best first baseman in baseball, but one of the best all-around players in the National League. And the Braves that season would go on to finish first to win the NL East with 90 wins, and they would go on to lose to the Dodgers 3-1 in the NLDS. And Ronald Acuna Jr. won the Rookie of the Year. Brian Snitker was the Manager of the Year. And at this point, the Braves had proven that they could rebuild around Freddie Freeman, and that was the season which you could say started off this new era, this new generation of the Atlanta Braves. And Freddie Freeman was the guy. He's the one lone elite player from the last time the Braves were a good playoff team. But I think this time, with Freddie Freeman's experience, many baseball fans can see that this Braves team can become very nasty, and Freddie Freeman can become the legendary veteran part of this, because Freddie Freeman's still only 30 years old. The next year, in 2019, this past season, Freddie Freeman would go on to play 158 games, where he would go on to finish with 176 hits in those 158 games, more hits than games played. He had 113 runs on the season. He had 34 doubles, a couple of triples, 38 home runs, 121 RBIs. He even had 6 stolen bases on the year last year. He finished with a 295 batting average, a 389 OBP. As in, he reached first base safely in almost 4 out of every 10 at-bats. That's incredibly efficient. throw that into the fact that he won back to back. He was named an All-Star in back-to-back season for the second time in his career. He was he was eighth in MVP voting, and he was given his first Silver Slugger in his career at first base, proving, and that was when he officially took the crown from Paul Goldschmidt as the best first baseman in baseball. Because prior to this, Paul Goldschmidt was winning the Gold Glove every year at first base. And at this very moment, Freddie Freeman has seized the crown because Paul Goldschmidt still plays in the National League because he plays for the Cardinals now, or he played for the Cardinals this past season. And yeah, at this point, that's when Freddie seized the crown. The Braves would go on to the playoffs after winning 97 games, more than any season that Freddie Freeman's been there. They would go on to lose in the NLDS to the Cardinals. And if you look at Freddie Freeman right now, before this 2020 bubble season, I see a 30-year-old first baseman in the peak of his prime because he's still getting better. And at that position, he can play that position for a very long time. And if the National League implements the designated hitter, then he's gonna play in the National League for a very long time. He definitely has his best years ahead of him, and even up until then, because I don't even think we've gotten to the second half of his career up until when the Braves actually start winning. But up until then, I see a 4-time All-Star, a player who was named to the who was given a Gold Glove in 2018, recognized as one of the best defensive first baseman in baseball, which is still an impressive feat considering many people recognize him as a hitter. And he was given a Silver Slugger at first baseman in the National League for the first time in his career, meaning that he had officially taken the crown from Paul Goldschmidt. He's also hit for the cycle in his career. He's also battle proven in the playoffs. He's led his team into the playoffs as the best hitter. He's shown he can do so on both ends. As of right now, I see him as the best two-way first baseman in all of baseball, and that's a very important position. And even looking at his hitting stats in the past season, he is a very consistent hitter. In the last season, he's had the lowest batting average he's had over those last 2 seasons is a 295. In the 3 seasons before his last season, he batted 300. He batted 300 in 4 of the 9 years he's been in the league, and this past year was his best one, and that wasn't one of the years. At that point, you can consider Freddie Freeman an elite first baseman, and I can't wait to see what this dude's career pans out to be as long as he stays with the Atlanta Braves and lets this young core build around him. Oh, this team is they're gonna be monstrous. And with Freddie Freeman at first base, considering he could probably play until he's at least 35 at first base, and at least move to designated hitter, yeah. If you're asking me if I'm going to watch him this season, is Freddie Freeman elite as of 2020? Yes, Freddie Freeman is elite. And with that said, I really appreciate you for listening to all 13 minutes of this. If you ever get a chance to check out my boy Freddie Freeman, he currently wears number 5 for the Atlanta Braves, and the Braves are a very good team. And looking at the NL East, it looks like the Braves are going to win the National League East again, so you're going to see him in the playoffs. But when you really watch him, just see how often he hits the ball. Just see how often he makes contact. This dude, just don't underestimate Freddie Freeman. And with that, thank you. I said my piece. Now peace out.